Bernard Tobin here at the Canadian Dairy XPO. I'm over at the hoof trimming exhibition here right now, and I'm catching up with Bryant Hess from Appleton Steel. Bryant, hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Glad to have you here.
How's the show? You've been doing a lot of demonstrations for people.
Canadians are awesome. I've really enjoyed it. Really have.
Great stuff. Hey, I wanted to ask, Appleton Steel, that doesn't sound like a hoof trimming company.
Well, I guess it doesn't, does it? So most of our customers refer to us just as Appleton, right? We're Appleton, but Appleton Steel, my dad started the company about 30 years ago and built the first machine in our garage and then moved into a little larger facility, but wasn't 100% sure that it was going to survive just on hoof trimming chutes. And so we sold steel, we fabricated beams and all kinds of things in that industry to try and make it work in the beginning. And that's why it was Appleton Steel, is because we had a wider range of work that we would do back then.
Awesome.
Machining and welding and all that.
And we've moved into hoof trimming, obviously. Now, how important is it to effectively trim the hooves of our livestock?
It's incredibly important. Just recently, they do these studies, and they'll tell you what the likely causes of a cow getting cold or removed from the herd is. And hoof trimming for a long time, or not hoof trimming, but lame feet for a long time, was the third reason, like number 3 reason why you would cull a cow. Right now, it's number 2. And so it deserves a very high priority in the operation. If you look at the cost of replacement cows right now, you're going to pay in U.S. dollars up to $3 grand for just a replacement 2-year-old, and so that cost is higher than it's ever been. And so farms can really not afford to let cows get cold that they could save if they had effective hoof trimming.
Yeah. Right? So how do we make it more of a priority? Bryant, how do we do it?
So the priority that hoof trimming deserves is quite high. But if your hoof trimming setup is slow or inefficient or dangerous, it gets treated like it's a low priority because nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to go out there and get kicked and get dirty and have to fight with the animal. And so if you're not set up to do it effectively, efficiently, and safely, then it gets treated poorly, right? And so in order for your dairy farm and the workers that are there to give hoof trimming the due diligence and the energy it requires, you've got to have a good machine. You've got to have an easy and efficient way to get the cows in the machine.
Yeah. And you can have a machine like this. This is the Appleton Steel Ultra. Tell us about this machine, Bryant. Walk us through it.
Yeah, so this machine here is a stationary chute, right? The setup, this is going to like a 4,500 cow dairy in southern Utah. And so it's just designed to handle 10 to 15,000 trims a year, right? And so because of the size of that dairy, and so this machine here it's designed to be robust. It has a rear gate system on here, so we can bring cows in really easy. This machine here has been a lot of fun because it has some technology in it that we haven't had before. So the last couple of years, in fact, it was COVID that kind of forced us into developing an electric over hydraulic system for the machines. And that gives us some control over how the chute moves we never had before. And so we're always kind of a little bit louder of a machine because of how heavy we are, but now we can be so quiet. And so let me just push a few buttons here, and I'll show you how quiet it can be. And so I'm going to go up with the chute, and I'll come down with the chute. And previously, what you'd have, when the chute comes down, you can kind of feel the concrete shake a little bit because you got 5,000 pounds to hit the ground. So let me just demonstrate here. I'm going to go chute up. And I'm going to go chute down. And you'll see, you got to pay attention. Just as the chute's about to hit the ground, it slows down really slow, okay? Right, and so that's just an example of what has happened when we brought in technology on the chutes. It allows us to quiet the machine down. The quieter the machine is, the less interruption you have in the barn that you're working out of, the less nervous the cows are that are waiting to come in. And the more calm they are, the easier they are to work with, and less risk of any kind of injury that would happen as well.
Now, you mentioned that, this is a big machine heading to a farm in Utah. Not every farm is that size.
Right.
What about, I guess, the different sizes, the different needs? I mean, what questions do you ask a dairy farmer or a hoof trimmer when you're trying to outfit them with a rig?
So I'm very focused. When I have those conversations with either a farmer or a hoof trimmer, I'm very focused on the ROI. Because I want to make sure that these guys, number one, that they like me for a long time, right? And if I sell them more than they need, they're not going to feel that way. If I sell them less than they need, they're not going to feel that way either. And so I try to fit the machine to the needs of whoever's buying it. And so we'll talk about, you know, how many cows you have on your dairy, or how many cows you want to trim every day, how many you trim for the year, what's the goal you have for hourly throughput. And we talk about all those things, then we try and customize it to what you want. So if you have a guy that wants to trim 10 cows an hour, and he's going to trim 40 cows a day, it's not going to be this machine. Right? This is too much machine for that. The things you're paying for on this machine, you're not going to see enough cows to spread the cost of it across to actually justify the cost of the cow, or of the machine. And so we'll right fit it to what the needs are of either the farm or of the hoof trimmer.
Yeah. Talk about, I guess, you know, we've got stationary, we've got mobile. You know, what is the range and size?
So the base frame of each machine is identical. The leg restraints are identical, the head gate, the rear system is all identical. The difference is the mobile chute, obviously it's got an axle on it, and it's going to go from farm to farm. Now Appleton still, like, we've kind of built our foundation on serving the professional hoof trimmer, on the guy that goes from farm to farm. And because he's going from farm to farm, he has a very high knowledge level of all of the different types of feet he's going to see. You know, so you have your on-farm trimmer, and he's going to see one very similar genetic profile, very similar nutrition across the board, similar environment, similar footing, and so he can focus more on one specific set of needs, whereas a professional guy, and so we've really focused on how to make the machine work for him. So if you look at the first machine we did 30 years ago to this machine here, you almost can't tell the difference. You almost wouldn't know it was still an Appleton Steel chute, other than if you understand that we do the best we can to make our customers our engineers. Like, they're the ones that are using it every day. They're the ones that know all the pain points. They're the ones that got kicked. They're the one that got the grinder like knocked out of their hand, or they're the ones that had the thing break, and now we got to figure out what happened. And so we're very involved with the feedback we get from our customers. And we're very attentive, and we're very quick to jump on things that need to get better. And that's why the machine has evolved so dramatically over the last 30 years, because that's our focus, right? Like myself, I was a hoof trimmer for 12 years. My dad trimmed for almost 20 years. My grandpa was one of the first professional trimmers on an upright chute in all of the country, right? And so it's very much just who we are. And so it's very easy for me to see it from the hoof trimmer perspective, and to do all the work that I can do and that we can do as an entire company to make sure we're giving the hoof trimmer the absolute best machine for himself, and that treats the cow the right way, and that's safe for everybody to get the work done. You know?
Final question for you. And you talked about, you know, career opportunities here. I mean, we need hoof trimmers. What do you tell people when they come by and they ask you about your experience, and you know, how do you get into this business?
So the cool thing about hoof trimming in comparison to other careers that are out there is, if you look at the income that a hoof trimmer can earn in a year, and if you went into different industries, like, to get to that level of income, I mean, you're looking at degrees and certifications and years of working your way up the chain or up the ladder to get to that income level. Whereas with hoof trimming, if you know cows, you have some understanding of how cows work, how they think. If you have, you know, enough compassion, right, to want to serve the animal. If you've got some work ethic, you've got to have some hand-eye coordination, right, because you use these bad boys all day long. Then you've got a real potential to have a legit career, earning very strong six figures, and you can get there very quickly. Like, when I first started trimming cows, I think my dad took me along when I was 9, you know, for a handful of years, and I had to struggle with that, but I fell in love with it because I just liked the whole thing about it. And so when I was 21, I jumped into my first business, trimming feet. I bought a guy out that was retiring, and that was amazing. And it's propelled me into a life that, if I would have taken the course and gone to college and all those things, not that there's anything wrong with that, but my curve was greatly accelerated because I chose hoof trimming. And you get to work with some of the best people that are out there. I mean, you get to work with farmers that spend their life serving animals so that they can feed people. I mean, I don't know, like, the reward you get from that isn't just financial. You're contributing to something that's real and that people need, and you get to be a part of it, and it's amazing.
Bryant, it's an amazing story, and it's a great business. And hey, tell us where farmers, hoof trimmers, can find out more information about Appleton Steel.
So go to appletonsteel.com, And you can email me through the sales tab there. And one of the things I do the most, I go to shows, but I love to get on the farm. I love to bring our machines there. And if you want to see how it handles cows, let's trim together. If you're a hoof trimmer, we'll spend the day. When I say let's trim together, I'm not going to touch a grinder. Okay, I've got too much respect for the hoof trimmer who's dedicated himself, learning how to trim that cow on that farm with that environment, that I'm not going to touch a grinder, but I'm going to run the machine for you, and then eventually I'll hand the controls off, and you'll get comfortable with it, and I'll stand back and I'll watch you, and you'll get to see for yourself. You know, if it's something that you think does a good job of handling the cow, that can put enough cows through that you need to have go through, and if you're at a dairy farm, then I'd love to go there as well. We have multiple machines I can bring, and we set them up, we run cows, and I really help you find what really fits you.